The following is a presentation of Learfield IMG College.
This is Duck Insider.
Give it to Verdell. He's got the first down and gone. Duck fans start celebrating. Oregon is the 2019 Pac-12 champion. The 2020 Rose Bowl champion.
Richardson, another open three. Good. Duarte dribbles and slams with the right hand. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions. Outright champ.
Holy three. Good. Holy ball. Down Shelley. Three ball. Good. Regular season champions and now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Thank you, and happy Thursday to everybody joining us. We'll have our regular Athletic Director Thursday brought to you by Pepsi and locally owned Bigfoot Beverages coming up in about 10 minutes. The Senior Associate Athletic Director Mike Duncan is going to join us. We'll also jump into a number of different topics today. And let's all hope that we can get a season going soon. Woo! Oh, we can all be excited about this. We've got all the updates for you from Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott and the NCAA on potential competition dates, so stick with us. There's still a lot of unknown. I want to start with that. There's a lot of boxes to still be checked. I think everybody is cautiously optimistic. We said that we were cautiously optimistic about a basketball season. I think we're cautiously optimistic about a lot of things now. We can all agree on that. Thanks for joining us wherever you are doing so. I will do my best to answer your Facebook and your YouTube and your Twitter comments and questions, and let's unpack some of these things. If you're just joining us and maybe you've been under a rock for a while, the whirlwind of news over the last few days has been head-spinning. In fact, last night I was trying to pre-order a PlayStation 5, and it was, honestly, it was fitting that just went terrible for everybody. And I started thinking about how trying to click refresh and get it to go through the payment processing. It was exactly like how it was trying to get a student ticket for football when I was a freshman in the dorms. It was like everybody had their secret formula, right? Oh, you got to use this browser, you use the other browser, and you have to refresh it 3 times, then you click on the page, and then it's going to work. And I think that most of the people in the ticket office would tell you that just made it worse for everybody because it inundated the website. The point that I'm trying to make is it was so fitting that in this whirlwind of news over the last few days that I found myself feeling like a freshman at Oregon in the McLean dorm of Hamilton all over again.
With the same hair.
Actually, yes. I had the same hair. I felt like a freshman in college again last night, trying to click refresh and get a student ticket, and that's exactly, I think, how we all feel right now with this level of excitement. Now, I say all that. Everything still needs to move in a positive direction, and a lot to tell you about on that front. Let's begin with one of the decision makers, because I certainly am not one of those ones. Eric Brody says, yes, student ticket issues refresh. If one person gets in, then you hop to their computer. Exactly! Eric, you got to tell me if you're still a student or if you just graduated or if you – what? Yes, everybody would move to that person's computer. And I got to say, I was very fortunate. I had the lucky computer 4 times. I probably got 7 dorm mates tickets one night. I mean, this is, yes, that's how it's feeling right now. That level of anxiety / excitement, and yeah. Decision maker. Larry Scott, Pac-12 Commissioner, said this late yesterday, quote, "The Pac-12 welcomes today's statements by Governor Newsom of California and Governor Brown of Oregon that state public health officials will allow for contact practice and return to competition, and that there are no state restrictions on our ability to play sports in light of our adherence to strict health and safety protocols and stringent testing requirements, including our recently announced partnership with Quidel, which will enable daily rapid results testing. We appreciate Governor Newsom's and Governor Brown's support, the former of which is consistent with the very productive conversation that he and I had earlier today." Again, this is Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott. He released this statement yesterday. "Our California and Oregon universities will now each individually and immediately reach out to their relevant county public health officials to seek clarification on what is required to achieve the same clearance to resume contact practice and competition. We are eager for our student athletes to have the opportunity to play this season as soon as it can be done safely and in accordance with public health authority approvals. That's Larry Scott, the Pac-12 commissioner, his statement yesterday. So what that means in California and in Oregon, now it's on each individual university to be adhering to safety guidelines, and they're in communication with the local county officials. That's really important. And we like to have fun on this show, but I really want to stress something here. Lane County, in a press briefing earlier today, spokesman said that exponentially cases have risen. I think that there's a number of reasons for that. The wildfires, in my opinion, are certainly one of them. It has displaced a lot of people. We all know that, and we're still thinking about that. That's bigger than sports. Because we have this excitement today, that doesn't mean that we're, for lack of a better phrase, out of the woods yet. Lane County is experiencing a big jump in positivity rate, so we can all be diligent and do everything that we can to make sure that our community is safe. That's going to be a big part of this, and I want to stress that. Everybody's got their mask. Everybody's got their hand sanitizer, washing your hands, staying 6 feet apart. Those are all going to be very important things. So yes, we have some excitement because Larry Scott today on ESPN said, quote, the best case scenario is start games by early November, but that's still subject to county approvals, which we don't have yet. We're going to do everything possible to play this fall, play a Pac-12 championship game, and have teams compete for the college football playoff if possible. That's a big deal. We all know that we want to compete for championships. Everybody does. Not just at Oregon, but everybody. So what does this all mean? We don't know yet, but I think it's a positive step in a positive direction. One thing that I don't want to do is sit here and speculate on when a season could start, what a season could look like. Because honestly, I don't know if anybody has the answer to that question. And every time we think we have an answer to that question, something changes. But this is positive news. Things are trending toward a return to competition once it can be done safely. Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott said that the best case scenario could be toward the end of October, early November. Now let's all do our part and make sure that we can do that safely. And to give everybody a little bit of perspective, the Big Ten did announce their testing protocols, and I want to give them as a reference point for all of you who are wondering what this could look like. Daily rapid tests, just like Commissioner Scott mentioned. Pac-12 has that. Screening for myocarditis and other cardiac issues. Athletes who test positive won't be able to return to practice for at least 21 days and must be cleared by a cardiologist. This is, again, from the Big Ten. This is part of their return to play initiative. And if more than 5% of the teams test positive, or of the team, I should say, test positive, practice of competition will be halted for at least 7 days for that team. Look, again, this is all about keeping the student athletes safe. I think a lot of people listen to those guidelines, and it's like, man, that's going to be tough. And it is. We all know that. We can all do our part, and we want to make sure that we do this safely. And if we all collectively feel, and if the leaders of the Pac-12 feel that we can return safely, then by all means, let's check those boxes, let's do it safely, and let's play some football. Did I miss anything, Scott?
I think you hit the nail right on the head there.
All right. I cannot wait to get back to it. But there's still a lot of things to happen ahead, and there's a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me that are figuring out how to do this the right way. One question that a lot of people have asked is, what about players who have already opted out because we were anticipating a winter-spring type of season? I don't think we have an answer to that yet. What could it mean? The NCAA is going to have to make a call on that. We don't know. For Oregon, that's guys like Penei Sewell, Thomas Graham Jr., and Diamador Lenore. We don't know what it's going to look like yet. Maybe there is some form of unprecedented action for players like that and for student athletes like that. We don't know yet. So for people who want an answer on that, I want one too. There's a lot of questions that I think we're all trying to figure out what things could look like in the next, I don't even know how long. I'd love to be able to put a time frame on that, but I don't really know what the time frame is going to look like. In other news, this is all positive, I think. In other news, the NCAA did make some decisions yesterday from the D1 Council. Let's begin with the good news on basketball. The Division I Council approved moving the first contest date in Division I men's and women's basketball to November 25th for the 2020-21 season. No exhibition games or close scrimmages will be allowed before that date. Now remember, the Pac-12 has still said that competition is postponed till the end of the year. As Larry Scott has alluded to, with these developments, that could change. One of the things that Larry Scott said is they were waiting on a determination from the NCAA, here in the Pac-12 anyway, they were waiting on a determination from the NCAA on what the start date of basketball would look like. Now does the Pac-12 revise that postponement through the end of the year? Larry Scott said that with current information that they have in front of them now, that is a very large possibility. Another announcement from the NCAA today, yesterday I should say, relating to the recruiting dead period. The Division I Council extended the recruiting dead period through January 1st. Council has been reviewing the dead period on a regular basis since April, and a dead period precludes all in-person recruiting. For those of you unfamiliar, phone calls and correspondence can continue to occur. So the early signing day, the December signing day for football, so far is still in place. The in-person visits and in-person recruiting, thankfully technology has made, I think, that a little bit easier as we've talked about with some of our coaches here at Oregon and the different strategies that they've employed. And finally, a fall championships update came yesterday from the NCAA Division I Council. Approved a package of proposals to move the 2020 fall championships to the spring of 2021. The recommendations now go to the Division I Board of Directors for approval. And this is just me speaking, not as a representative of Oregon, but just me, Joey Mack's opinion. I feel like that will get approved. There's so many conferences and sports that have already moved to spring. Even if football comes back or whatever the heck's going to happen, who knows? I feel like that's going to get approved. We're going to see a lot of championships come in the spring. All of this, though, is contingent on being able to do it safely, but there is positive development toward that with these rapid daily tests and the way that universities, frankly like the U of O, have adhered to guidelines. Remember, Mario Cristobal said it. Since the onboarding process, no positive tests among Oregon football. Now the student athletes, many of them have returned home with competition postponed. We'll see if things change in the next few days, weeks, I don't even know. But this is all positive news. But there's still some boxes to be checked as we move forward. And as those boxes get checked and we get official announcements, we'll have them for you on Duck Insider. There's a lot of different reports swirling around out there. One thing that we don't want to do on this show, especially representing the U of O, is speculate. But there's the information as it stands right now, and let's all hope that things continue to move in a positive direction. That was a lot. Somehow I went from student tickets to that was a lot, and here we are now. That was a long 13-minute open today. And I also did see Dan commented on a couple of the products. I'm with you. Marcus Mariota is a Raider now, and I do hope that hopefully Vegas is a good fit for him. Justin Herbert with the Chargers, hopefully we'll see him in action. A lot of other products as well. All right, first, a quick timeout. When we come back, we are going to talk to Senior Associate Athletic Director Mike Duncan. We had scheduled this interview previously to talk with Mike about procedures around the University of Oregon and the athletic department, because Mike's really been overseeing all of that as a Senior Associate AD in charge of facilities and events. I think you'll find it interesting the way that the athletic facilities have operated during this pandemic and how they're going to continue to operate in the future. We're going to talk with Mike Duncan coming up. It's Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union, back inside the Country Financial Studio after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local country representative.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Learfield IMG College.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier.
My daughter Brooklyn was also a motivation for me to go back to school.
Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone.
I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Inside the Country Financial Studio, I'm Joey Macca. Thanks for joining us. And we now welcome, as part of our series of Athletic Director interviews, it's Athletic Director Thursday, always brought to you by Pepsi and locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Mike Duncan is joining us. Mike Duncan, the Senior Associate Athletic Director of Facilities, Events, and Operations. And Mike, first I got to say thanks for joining us. How are things? We haven't talked to you and definitely haven't seen you in person in an awful long time, it feels like now.
Yeah, things are a little bit different than they used to be, but things are going pretty well at this point.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Well, we were talking actually before you came on, Mike, about all these different, the news cycle and just keeping track of things. And that's something that I kind of wanted to ask you about is just how do you guys keep track of all these ever-changing procedures? And I can imagine that your email inbox must just be flooded. And by the time you guys come up with a model of what things are going to look like, then it changes about 5 hours later, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's become the new normal, really. When this first started, things were changing. It seemed like day to day and hour to hour, but at this point, we've kind of gotten used to it, I think.
Yeah, I haven't gotten used to it yet, but I'm glad that it sounds like in the future I'm going to get used to it, which is a good thing. So, all right, Mike, this is going to be interesting to talk a little bit about these procedures, but I want to start on a little more basic level. Senior Associate Athletic Director for Facilities, Events, and Operations. And, Mike, we haven't had you on the show, I think, in a couple seasons now. What exactly does that mean, Facilities, Events, and Operations?
Well, really, I'm involved in overseeing the athletic facilities at the University of Oregon and the events that happen within them, whether they be our own athletic events or outside events, like Garth Brooks or concerts at the arena, those kinds of things also.
I'm kind of curious, actually, as a follow-up to that, with all the concerts and different things like that in a normal year, Mike, I mean, that's, I know, a huge part of what you and your staff do is in the summers, for example, when we do different things like that. Just what's that endeavor like to pull off all these different events that happen that aren't the traditional athletic events?
We've got a great team, so it's a lot of fun to do those different kinds of things and bring different people into our facilities. But it's all changed with COVID, like everything else. Initially, when things first started getting shut down. We were talking to promoters daily because we had a number of events scheduled, through the following 6 to 9 months. And initially they would push them back or, postpone them temporarily. And then it just kept moving on. So, at this point, we're just waiting to get up and going again when we're able to safely.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that. I think very, very quickly. Mike Duncan, Senior Associate Athletic Director, joining us. You know, Mike, I got to tell you that I think the saddest I've ever seen Scott Phillips was when the Tool concert got canceled. I think that may have been the saddest I have ever seen Scott. So, I mean, I'm hopeful that he's laughing now. I'm hopeful that all of these acts can come back at some point. And I know, Mike. I know actually. Before we talk about some of what's going on with COVID, that's a huge part of what normally you're up to, right? Is kind of scheduling these things out for years to come, right?
Yeah, no, it is. And Tool, in fact, was that concert was scheduled to happen really the next day when everything really started happening.
Yeah.
You know, I was on the phone late at night as they were up in Portland, playing in Portland, and things were happening that prevented them from playing in Eugene the next day. So yeah, Tool will be back eventually.
All right.
But they're waiting till they learn a little bit more of when they can schedule the tour safely.
I like it. Well, you just now Scott Phillips is dancing in the studio over here. I mean, he's so excited, Mike. I can't even tell you how excited you just made him that hopefully they'll be back. All right, you know, Mike, I guess give fans a sense of when this all started and take us back to March and the way that you guys and your staff have had to adapt to one, continue working, and then two, procedures for facilities to keep student athletes safe and kind of just in some ways keep the operation moving forward. Could you just walk us through that process and how you guys went about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, we've had real good leadership from our campus's incident management team. They have been able to be at the forefront of what's going on and talking directly with the local and state agencies to be able to put together guidelines that we need to follow to be able to operate safely. So we have, when we were able to start bringing some people back into the office to support student athletes, as we were able to start bringing some student athletes back in June, that's when we had to look at all our facilities and figure out how we could bring people back safely. So we needed to look at the size of spaces and there were guidelines on square footage per person and how many people could be in different areas. We had to figure out traffic patterns for people to be able to move through our facilities without being too close to each other, all kinds of things like that. And as we've gone forward, I think people have adjusted to it and learned and really done a good job of following the guidelines that we put out there.
Mike Duncan joining us, Senior Associate Athletic Director for Facilities, Events, and Operations. I have to follow up on that because we talked to Lisa Peterson, Mike, and I don't know if you heard the interview or if you're expecting what I'm about to ask, but how good of a arrow maker is Lisa Peterson when you guys were taping arrows on the ground?
She's not a very good arrow maker. I'm much better.
So I have to give people some context here. As part of the traffic patterns, and I know probably a lot of your businesses, folks that are listening, are like this too. There's like duct tape, different color duct tape that is on the carpet around here in the Casanova Center that kind of directs traffic, right? And so everything's going in the same direction, limits exposure, all the right things that we can do in this time. Well, I asked Lisa, somehow it came up, Mike, and she was like, yeah, Mike told me that I'm not very good at it. And so I had to bring it up just because I got a kick out of it. In all seriousness too, Mike, I mean, just little things like putting hand sanitizer bottles around the facilities and just things like that. I mean, just what was the endeavor like to try to outfit facilities in a new way, while I imagine demand for those sorts of products was very, very high?
Yeah, initially trying to get that kind of stuff was difficult. So we were lucky that we were able to kind of ramp up early and try to figure out what we might need, both for facilities that we would have games in when fans are able to come back, and also, just our own office buildings and workspaces.
Working on some of the modeling, Mike, and I think a lot of fans, obviously the obvious question here is like, when can fans come back? And I think the easy answer is we just don't know. But the modeling and the preparation for that, Mike, I mean, how much have you guys been able to look at that and just take into account all these different factors? And maybe the better way to ask this question is, how do you even go about doing that at this point with just so many variables and things changing so rapidly?
Well, one of the interesting things with this is back early on, there were a lot of people obviously in the same boat, a lot of universities across the country. So there were a lot of conversations that started with groups of people who were faced with the same thing. So it was interesting to be able to talk on these Zoom calls, which was something that I don't think I'd ever done before last March. And now they're a normal part of everybody's daily life, it seems like. But having conversations about how different people were going to attack things, and trying to get the best ideas from everybody. And now, as things are starting up in some places, now we're even having conversations about what people have found out, what people have learned from that, so that we'll be in better position when we are able to bring fans back in our facilities.
Could you expand on that a little bit, if possible? I mean, what are some of the things that your colleagues are finding out? And I think the more information that we know, obviously, the more I think our fans can be prepared for what to expect when things are back to an attendance we all hope for someday.
Yeah, well, the kinds of things that we're talking about are, every part of a fan experience, from transportation and parking, what things might look like in a parking lot, whether there are tailgate parties or not. And if there are tailgate parties, are there size restrictions? Are there space restrictions? All those kinds of things are things that we talk about with colleagues across the country. And then, things as far as coming into the venue. How are you able to space people out and get people in to the venue safely? And once they get in the venue safely, what does that look like? Also, there's a lot of conversations about things like food and beverage. How do you handle that? Do you have remote ordering, prepackaged items? All those kinds of things are discussions that we're having.
I think the follow-up here, Mike, is just challenges ahead here locally at Oregon as you guys continue to look at all these different scenarios and figure out the best way to go about everything, whether it be having student athletes come back, people going back to work here in the Casanova Center, and then the biggest thing is fans. I mean, what challenges do you foresee ahead that you'd like to share with fans, just so people can kind of be prepared for these challenges?
I think the main challenge is people are going to have to realize that things are going to be different. Their experience is going to be different than it previously was, at least for a while. And we will do a good job when we know of communicating what the experience is likely to be, and what we will ask fans to do when we are able to bring fans back into our facilities. So I think those are the kinds of things that they're going to be, that they will need to be prepared for. Just a different experience, and to pay attention before they get here, because things are going to be different than what they may have gone through or what they've had to do when they've attended events prior.
Well, I can tell you that I can't wait for the day when the majority of Duck Insider is spent outlining these different things. We don't know when this will happen, but we're preparing accordingly, I guess, is maybe the best way to put it. Mike, what's a normal day look like for you now? I mean, and maybe compared to what a normal day used to look like for you, how much has it changed?
I mean, one of the great things about my job is I really don't have a normal day. It's not the same every day. It's changing all the time, depending on what's going on with our events throughout all our facilities. Now there's an awful lot more meetings, it seems like, that I'm involved in, and they're all remote. Something that I wasn't used to before. And after a while, I find I'll have to get up and take a little walk around the office, whether it be at home or in my office. I'm not used to sitting in a chair as much as I probably am doing these days.
Me too. I was just, as you said that, I was like, yeah, I get that. I feel like we all need, Mike, like, instead of the traditional office chair where you're sitting there and typing properly, we all need like a Zoom lazy boy, right? We need the Zoom recliner. I feel like it has to be the future of the modern office, right? Because we're all just, going to meetings on our couches.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
I think we need to find a way to market this. We can put a big O on it. Exactly. I think we're onto something here. Mike, anything else that you'd like to highlight? And I know that Mike, you've done this at Oregon. You joined in 2008, been here since 2008, and you've done facilities with the NBA at the Arco Arena. I mean, just what else should fans know? I mean, you're the expert here, so I wanted to be able to share your knowledge with folks.
No, I mean, I started at Oregon as an intern in the sports information office a long time ago. So it was always the hope that I had that I could get back to Eugene. So it's been great, these last 10 or 12 years here, and just really waiting for the chance that we get to get back to what we're all used to and having great events in our facilities and being able to watch great student athletes. At this point, we're just trying to find the best way to keep everybody safe. Student athletes, staff, and our fans when we are able to have fans back again. So just hang on and we'll be back there hopefully sooner rather than later.
I'm with you. I hope so too. Mike Duncan, he's a Senior Associate Athletic Director for Facilities, Events, and Operations. Finally, Mike, I have to ask, because I know you graduated from the U of O with journalism and public relations, very similar to me. Now you're on the events and operations side. So does my future have events and facility operations in ahead of me here?
I think you don't want to head in that direction.
Mike Duncan, Senior Associate Athletic Director, kind enough to join us. Mike, thanks so much for taking the time and sharing some insight with fans, and hopefully we'll be seeing you in person at an event sooner than later. I appreciate the time, sir.
Good. Talk to you again.
All right, Mike Duncan. It is Athletic Director Thursday, brought to you by Pepsi and locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks, drink Pepsi. Quick timeout. When we come back, a lot more to unpack. Yeah, a lot. Stuck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. I'm answering some of your Facebook comments and questions inside the Country Financial Studio next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar presents an original that's now maybe even better. Mary had a little lamb.
Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar with the same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. Let's taste what's as good as the original, maybe even better.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. As good as the original, maybe even better.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You aced vehicle history searches and test drives. You out-salesmaned the salesman. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart savings strategies, you'll have the info you need to get more for your future. Go to aceyourretirement.org, because when it comes to speeding past financial challenges, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions, don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. I see a lot of excitements. Excitements? Is that a word? Excitements isn't. You can't have a plural of excitement. Is excitement's already the plural? Yeah. Okay. This is why Rob Mosley's the writer and why I'm the talker. Apparently, Cindy with a great suggestion. Get Coach Feld on program to speak of. The protocols have been implemented in the weight room. Yeah, that was actually something that we were looking at doing, and we're hoping to be able to coordinate a time with Coach Feld here moving forward. We also, of course, had to talk to Coach Feld about what he's been doing, one, with the Special Olympics, but two, his new production studio. We laugh about it because he made a great video. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Follow him on Twitter at Coach Feld. Made a great video that I can't even explain to you. It was like a movie trailer, basically, for what he was doing with the 45-day challenge, and it was really well done, just really funny. Encourage you to check it out. A lot of excitement coming in, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see where this moves now, obviously, over the next however long. But John asking, what's the latest on when we'll have a new testing system in place with football team staff and coaches? So that is a big question. Commissioner Scott and the Quidel Corporation said that they would have the daily testing on campuses in the Pac-12 by the end of the month, by the end of this month, by the end of September. So we're trending in a positive direction with that. What that testing looks like, I don't know yet. But I can tell you that the athletic trainers, all of the medical staff around University of Oregon Athletics, that's what they're focusing on right now, actually, is to figure out how to implement this. And that will be a huge portion of, frankly, the daily life, I think, for those of us that are involved in college athletics moving forward. And I thought it was super interesting what Mike Duncan was saying, how this makes sense, right, that we have seen other sporting events take place now, so we're able to learn from those sporting events and how to do this and how we go about doing it. That's important. That's really important, I think, as we continue down this path. So I do want to take some time toward the end of the show to kind of unpack everything again, think about what it all means. And we're going to do that. First of today's show is brought to you by North Fork Public House. North Fork Public House, open for dine-in and takeout, northforkeugene.com. Howard with a question that actually I've gotten this a few times in the past, getting into the inside baseball, if you will. Who is IMG College, and how good is their football and basketball team? That actually made me laugh. So, I have to tell you, so the company that handles sponsorship and supports the radio network is Learfield IMG College. It is confusing, though, because there's an IMG Academy. Very confusing. I can tell you that if the football and basketball teams from Learfield IMG College, they'd probably be made up by, some account executives that are former student athletes, some broadcast schmucks like myself that have no athletic ability whatsoever. And, our football and basketball teams wouldn't be very good. Mike Jorgensen would probably be one of our quarterbacks. He'd be okay. He scored a touchdown in his career. Was it only one touchdown? Did he only actually score one touchdown? He had more than that.
He threw for more, but I think that was
he had only one rushing touchdown, and it was against Cal. So what would the football, basketball team look like? Yeah, there's probably a lot of football color analysts that are pretty athletic, though, around the Learfield IMG College footprint. But yeah, so Howard, that's what it is. And our football and basketball teams would be terrible. Absolutely awful. Speaking of getting ready, though, for football season, as we hope now, we got OSN Classics coming on Saturday. This is the thing with a rapidly changing environment, that we put together a plan to relive the 2019 Oregon football season. I gotta say, it's gonna sound really good. I listened back to the game that we're gonna play on Saturday actually a little bit this morning, and it's gonna be really fun. Jerry, Jorgie, Terry, and myself, live from Autzen Stadium in separate booths, actually. I wired it with Terry a little bit yesterday, and I'll just be honest with everybody, it was a little bit weird. Like, Terry and I are up there. Normally, Terry and I are right next to each other, like plugging in cords, getting things ready to go, and instead it was like, you're walking around like you have a bubble around you, and we're trying our best to do things the right way. And running cabling, and like I would be on one side of the equipment plugging it in, and Terry only was on the other side. And guys, it was weird. Odd experience for myself and for Terry. But we set everything up so that we're all going to be spaced out at Autzen Stadium coming up for our first edition of OSN 2019 Classics. It'll be the Nevada win. Jerry and Jorgie will do a pregame show with Terry and myself. We'll go through and listen to the game and talk about some of the biggest moments. And essentially, we're giving you the director's commentary of a season that has already been played as we now prepare for next season. So it's like we're binge watching or binge listening to the old season with director's commentary. And by director's commentary, it's Jerry and Jorgie. 11 a.m. on your OSN affiliate. You can also listen via the GoDucks Game Day app. You can listen via TuneIn. All of the different ways you can tune in to the Oregon Sports Network. We're going to do that coming up on Saturday starting at 11 a.m. And we'll have some fun with it. And I promise there's going to be a lot of updates to talk about too. What is the latest from the Pac-12? We'll have that for you on Saturday as part of our pregame show as well. That's going to be our first edition of OSN Classics. And let's all say this together. We all hope that we don't even finish the full season of OSN Classics. Because maybe then we've got some live sporting events. Still a lot to unpack there. We're going to do that in just a little bit. Jackson's Food Store is proud sponsor of the University of Oregon Ducks. Stop by your neighborhood Jackson's for all your game day essentials with everyday specials on game day necessities. You'll be ready for anything the big game brings. Go Ducks. Quick timeout. First, your Slocum Center Minute, talking about jammed fingers, how you go about getting over those. And Jerry Allen sitting down with the Slocum Center Minute. Also, your Products calendar, that's all still to come. Stick with us. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Inside the Country Financial Studio, more coming up on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Center Minute. Slocum Center physicians are located here in Eugene and are the orthopedic team physicians for your beloved Oregon Ducks. With me, I have Dr. Michael Keister, who specializes in non-surgical sports medicine at Slocum Center for Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Today, we're talking about sports nutrition. Dr. Keister, please share why sports nutrition is so important for athletes.
It's important for athletes because nutrition provides the fuel to power our workouts. It also provides the building blocks to recover and to build up the muscles once they're broken down during those workouts. And we can't forget the importance of proper hydration. Dehydration can really affect your ability to work out and can get you tired out more easily.
Tell me about some ways athletes can improve their nutrition.
One important thing is just eating a balanced diet. And when we say balanced diet, we mean a mixture of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Carbohydrates should make up about 60 to 70% of the total fuel because that's really the main energy source. And then protein about 15% and fats the rest. I really emphasize to avoid fad dieting. People talk about fats being good, fats being bad, carbs being good, carbs being bad. Trying to stick to that balanced diet is really the best thing. In addition, lots of water, 2 cups before working out, and then usually almost a cup of water about every 15 to 20 minutes. Sports drinks really aren't needed unless you're working out for maybe longer than 45 to 60 minutes. Just good cold water is plenty to hydrate you in the time for that.
All right, thank you, Dr. Keister, for joining us today and talking about sports nutrition. Tune in next week to hear Dr. Wiest about ACL injuries. That was the Slocum Center Minute, brought to you by the Slocum Center, orthopedic team physicians for the University of Oregon athletes since 1967.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
All it takes is one drop to make a wave. One beat to inspire a track. One spark to get creativity flowing. With every drop, LifeWater refreshes your mind and restores your body. Purified water, pH balanced with electrolytes for taste. Designed with original works of art on every bottle. Let us be your source of inspiration. LifeWater, the feel-good water.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics. This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see? Every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hello, it's me, the designer jeans in the back of your closet. What happened to us? I used to summer in the Hamptons, and now I'm stuck behind a pair of sweats. Okay, maybe I never really fit you right, but I got a lot more Sunday fun days left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
This is kind of cool as we welcome you back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack inside the Country Financial Studio. Maybe Scott will be able to pull it from the Oregon Ducks soccer Twitter to show you, because NCAA soccer just featured the photo of the week, and it's Oregon soccer, and it's actually pretty cool seeing the way that Oregon soccer has embraced the different scenario that we're in right now, and they've done a really cool job, I think, of promoting their program on social media while also recognizing that things are different. It's been cool to watch, and I hope that for Graham Abel and his entire staff, I hope that we get to a season. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Just highlighting the fact that they've got the different face coverings, and that's what the NCAA wants to promote right now, and I think that's pretty awesome to see it. That's Leah Freeman, a freshman out of Berkeley, California, who's highlighted there, and that's pretty cool. I think that we're going to see more of that as teams get more and more comfortable with how things are. Also of note today, many of you have probably seen on social media that as part of the University of Oregon and the Oregon Athletic Department's commitment to really the entire student-athlete experience and just building toward being a, for lack of a better phrase, productive member of society, the goal with the Keep It 100 initiative through Be Oregon is to have 100% voter registration. Many different teams have checked that box. We've seen like one or two, it seems like, every day. Well, the latest actually is Oregon football. Oregon football now has 100% of student athletes registered to vote. And I think more and more we're going to see these teams come through. And look, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't want this to be political, but we all agree that voting is a really big deal, right? I'm not sure that there is a argument against that. And I think it's cool to have a culture here at the University of Oregon that is fostering that sort of outlook on life. That's pretty cool. Oregon football, the latest I believe Oregon women's basketball, Oregon men's basketball already there as well, which is cool. All right, if you are just joining us, I want to recap a little bit of what has gone on. And I do quickly, though, want to answer a question from Jonathan Allen, who asked on YouTube a little while ago, will there be walk-on tryouts? I don't know the answer to that. I'm assuming you're referring to Oregon football walk-on tryouts. Traditionally, there are, once classes get going, there are walk-on tryouts. I don't know. I think that with everything going on, it's a great question, don't get me wrong, but I think with everything going on, it'll be difficult to pull that off, at least how the Ducks used to do it previously. But I will try to have an answer for you on that, Jonathan, and hopefully mention it on a show later on. All right, if you're just joining us, let's read to you again the latest from the Pac-12. Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott, he said in part that the Pac-12 welcomes now yesterday's statements by Governor Newsom of California and Governor Brown of Oregon. Essentially, the new information with the Quidel Corporation and the rapid daily testing has added a tremendous piece to a resumption of play idea for the Pac-12. He continued to say, Larry Scott did, that we are eager for our student athletes to have the opportunity to play this season as soon as it can be done safely and in accordance with public health authority approvals. All right, so again, Lane County, today, spokesman said, it's the highest increase in positivity rates that we've had in Lane County. So a lot of excitement, rightfully so. There's still a global pandemic, and we got to find a way to do this safely. And I hope that we can do that now as we get closer and closer to, hopefully, the resumption of sports. Now, Commissioner Scott was also on ESPN today, and he said that the best-case scenario to start games by early November, that's still subject to county approvals. So now, in California and in Oregon, the county approval process is underway. And we're hoping, as Larry Scott put it, that there will be a Pac-12 championship game, and the Pac-12 can have teams competing for the college football playoff if possible. It's unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented. And I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I wish I did. If I did, I'd be getting ready for a broadcast of a football game. And I think we all can hope for that. John asking, will players who declared for the NFL draft be able to withdraw that action and play this season? That is a very, very good question. We don't know the answer to that yet. The NCAA, I think, is going to have to make a decision there. So we don't know yet. If games are able to come back sooner than we thought with some positive news for at least sports and, frankly, for the entire pandemic over the last few weeks, we don't know the answer to that yet. But it's a very good question, John, and I think I speak for everybody in the college landscape in hoping that the NCAA and collectively we have an answer to that so that the student athletes can be best served. This is supposed to all be about student athletes, and that's what it is. So whatever's best for those young men, I think, is what we should do. Quick time out. When we come back, your products calendar for today. We've got NFL action tonight. And today's show is brought to you by Shadow Hills Country Club, your family resort just minutes from home. Call for a tour today. I'm Joey Mack. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. More coming up inside the Country Financial Studio after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT,
GOAT, acronym, stands for greatest of all time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Those of you who are watching the show in the Country Financial Studio, we had to show Jorgie getting ready for OSN Classics. It's classic hair. It really never does get old, as Scott said. I love it so much. Hey, something I want to just reemphasize, especially after our conversation with Mike Duncan today, Senior Associate Athletic Director for Facilities, Events, and Operations. We're all excited and anxious to have fans back, but we do still have a long way to go with that. And so keeping up with these procedures is really important, and especially because we're still trying to figure out the right way here at Oregon to have people come back to work and to have student athletes come back to facilities. So let us get over those hurdles for sure, and then I hope that we can start talking about, getting back to that sense of normalcy. Continuing to work with the experts in our communities is really important. Our community still doing its entire part is really important, and I think we're all looking forward to getting back to that sense of normal. But I thought that was kind of the theme of talking with Mike today, that there's a lot of different things that are happening that the U of O is doing, the athletic department is doing, but really we're anxious to get back to that, and I hope that we're able to do so soon. But we still have some things to do to get there, some boxes to check, if you will. And that's really the theme, I think, of today is positivity, good news, cautious optimism, but there are still things that need to happen as we move forward here down this train. It is an Athletic Director Thursday brought to you by Pepsi, locally owned Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks, drink Pepsi. How about the Pro Ducks schedule? And let's begin actually with Oregon softball and the latest leaderboard from Athletes Unlimited. The Pro Ducks, man, Janie Takeda-Reed is in second place of all athletes in Athletes Unlimited. DJ Sanders was fifth, and Gwen Savekis was seventh. They all had over 1,000 points. Remember the scoring system. You can find it on the Athletes Unlimited website. Yeah, that's impressive, to say the least. Pro Ducks in action, Terrence Mitchell on Thursday Night Football on NFL Network. Let's go, Team Mitch. Love it. Busy day. Let's do it again tomorrow. Jerry Allen's going to join us.
Tweens have mastered the art of tuning out. Jen, there's a spider in the car. We're turning your room into a home gym. See? Nothing. But some messages need to get through. Like making sure they're buckled up the whole ride, every time. Do whatever it takes to make your